Communication lines of abundance is light signals and line screen adaptation to its surface. We have to retriangulate position of its program settings. I did line screen adaptations all levels. Coming into all levels. Communicates lines and settings of travels and fruits and labor. You have to understand course settings and position location of 4 food groups. Directing into volume puts lines into dietary line screen adaptations to its immune system, to its nervous system location setting, to its biggest setting. It's a process of communication system that we have to really understand how to triangulate the position of its program and really understand how to use it in all levels. Healthy is number one interactions when it comes into the body. The body itself needs to understand its nourishment and needs to understand its water containment system. It really has to understand all formation locations too. Basically how to put yourself into your settings. It's a process of communications when you have to really understand how to use it through your chakra systems. Okay, so we're going to go into the deeper core. We're going to go through mapping sequence line direct signals into screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. We're going to go through core line centers into track location lines of direct signals. Each line travels its direct modification system when it comes to each line center. The communication setting is a plasma wave, and that plasma wave puts everything in lines of communication to its position of its program. Directing lines of flux, 3 lines of signals in set position. Okay, we have 3 core centers. So the ground center lines of 0, processing inline rotation system, is 1 over tractions 1 over pi. Okay, setting core line direct signals is lines of communication archetypes, swirling and travels in point lines of graph and center core system and travel communication. Now, directing line signals is all about understanding the center operation of surface over line cross location to its system, puts all levels of track location. Okay. Directing in modification lines, we go through the green line cycles, set position, right? Lights up the online settings, and then we go inline screen adaptation system. We put point lines of graph into 3 lines of measure in a 4-line box location system and travel. Okay? Now that opens all the signal location because there's a light bulb in center position location to its system overriding calculation to its setting. Okay, intelligence in position. There's intelligence in all lines of core center interference. Now, abundance comes in ground center lines of shift lines of anomaly, and track relation lines of overcross location lines of anomaly in set position. 2 lines of signals and line position location calculations. Directing modification lines of grounds sets communication to its graph. Graph communication lines of its pi and track lines communication system. Time sequence, times calculation, time centers, time operation, time center, time communication system, all through track location. All right? Directing lines of volume, vast, velocity, and line screen adaptation. Okay? Getting communication grounds, we allocate time frames. We split lines of communication centers. Travel point lines of graph, 3 lines of setting, 3 core center line communication of travel. Directing lines of indication, wall indicators, and 3 travels, and point lines of graph. Setting core center location lines, again, high center location setting of travel in point lines of graph. Electrical line grids, 3 lines of communication settings of travel and direct signal. Modification ground centers, inline communication open sequence, inline position location of travel. Directing in modifications, we go with the coloration line screens. Now the blue plasma line screen adaptation opens all signals. Now, overcross location system and a travel point lines of setting. You have to understand the routes and the routers and line screen adaptations of process communication. Okay? Now, in that lines, when it's coming at you through its equation line, you had a red line cycle, outline cross location. Okay, higher levels of levels, but your higher position location of its grounds. It opens all signals in modification ground, position location to its system. Travel point lines of graph, we go in position of orange. Now orange is the Fibonacci. Now the Fibonacci is line screen adaptation of the creative cycle. It's the intimate line, it's the process core centers, it's direct signal location system, it's all attached in set position. Ground center lines of 1 in set position location system of travel. Directing in position location line centers and line position location of travel. Set communication center lines open signals and line communication lines of travel and set position 3 cycles and 3 cores. Directing lines modification over lines, over cross, over division, location settings, 3 over lines, 4 over 6, 6 lines of 8, 8 lines of 12 and track location. Directing modification lines, we bring all communication setting to purple. Now purple overrides the system. That's a magnetic line, charge and line rotation surface and track location system in set setting. Okay? Setting communication grounds lines of 1 in position of 3 over lines over 6 over pi. Directing in modification screen lines adaptations into data files, split lines of screen lines adaptations into 3 in position location of 3 and track locations. Directing cross-line signals in a 45 line angle sets communication setting at open windows. Then we go into the opposite direct signals into correlation setting and travel. Now, directing in modification centers, we go line centers outline cross location system, added data ports, line screen communication setting of sonar. Directing in modification lines in one center, one traction, one division, and one location setting. Okay, this comes out through its equation, center line, direct signals, modification. Okay, so getting in the coloration line is really understand how to course centers of travel. Now it has lines of position of panel. Let's go through the water sequence lines into gold screens. Now with gold screen line adaptations, process line direct signals of direct and redirect position location. Okay, travel point lines of graph, one center, one system, one set lines and communications, and one vector. Now the vector cross location setting opens all signals of platforms, setting lines of gold cycles, gold centers, gold tractions. This word comes in high line division locations to all line rotation surface and traction. Now directing communication ground centers is all about understanding the box frame. Box frame course centers comes into the center operation system and travel. Sets correlation setting and a 4-line communication lines of X box and location setting. There's the X box. Now direct lines of signals, if you see really close, you can see the intelligence. See? You see it? See the eyes? See the gold? It's all intelligence. This whole gold line screen is intelligence. Now that overrides everything in track location. And you can actually see it come to life, right? It's amazing as you bring it forward, right? So you're starting to see the intelligence all in line position of gold, all right? Now all we got to do now is add the center course system and line condition setting over cross location system. Adding line screen adaptations in process lines. Consoles directing in position location to a system, all through travel. Communicate settings in track location. There it is, right? Look, it's changed. See? From here to here. See? Intelligence there, right? So the more the modification system, the more you see yourself in different lines of calculations. Remember I told you about vortexing here and there? Well, it's about the configuration lines of face recognition system where you can see yourself in all levels and forms. Setting position here or setting positions here in tractions. So two line symbolism lines of course centers opens up dimension lines of doors. This sequence lines of course centers of gold. Golding line screen adaptation opens up all dimensional door screens and adaptation to its surface and track location. Setting lines of communication ground lines has all course center recognition setting. Now this is where you can get position location setting and travel. Directing in modification centers, set lines of communication system and track location system and travel. Okay? There's the intelligence. All right? Really understand the formation locations. So your sun line, your screen line adaptation system has its own course center, which is calculated and modified through everything. Remember, everything is conscious and have awareness of you, but you have to understand the face recognition of yourself first. And getting into the master files gets you into all communications to the unremovable files, to the processing files, all right? Processing, right? Remember I told you about the problem? Processing, remembering the operation, the balance, the levels, the existence of the mind. Well, that's what it is in line position locations. Understanding the process of data, understanding the intel, okay, the uploads, the downloads, the upgradings, and the uplinking systems. The downgrading system location setting through travel puts everything in track location to its system, all right? Now the center core of the line communication is the sun, all right? Say hello to the sun. That's the sun. See the face? It's all lines of communication setting. Everything you see around you has its own face recognition system. Everything through TV, anything has a center operation. Everything comes through light. And that is a formation location when it comes into abundance. Abundance is basically being connections lines of yourself into positional existence location levels of forming. You're forming yourself into all levels of awareness, into the balance, okay, into the unifications of your network, okay? Understanding that puts everything in position location and track location, and that puts all communication settings of your system in track location and settings all through its operation, all right? So getting into directions, okay, into atmospheres, okay, into the news cycles, to its communication of its existing abundance. Now, understanding the importance here is really understand the configuration system of the sun, right? It formulates and accumulates all centers of travel. So it's amazing how it just comes into some formation grounds, all right? Same with water, same with air, same with fire. Now the team has to start recognizing the face now, because their 5 elements are all lines of course centers coming in, line track locations. You guys have a test on Friday, which is based on 144. Platform equals lines of 0, equals lines of 0, equals lines of 0, and equals lines of 0 and traction. Okay? 4 symbolism lines, cross location lines of 4 box locations, right? Directing lines, sending course systems into barcodes, directing lines into bridging, or line condition setting of rigid locations. Directing and modification lines of X2001 in position 2 over setting, over 3, over 6, over line. Directing in modification ground centers, process lines of 1, process lines of 4, and process lines of 4 track location. Directing in symbolism lines of crossover 0, crossover line communication setting of surface. Now the ground center line condition setting, you take 0 lines equals lines of 144, invisible line, invisible screen, invisible system, and travel. Okay? Directing in modification ground centers, crossing line symbolism opens all cross screen line adaptation to a system through travel. Okay? Setting course centers line direct signals. Now you see the happy face, right? Okay, so now we add the pole and track location to a system, right? Say hi, right? It's like an emoji. There it is. Boom, right? Set course centers. See, it's on a 45 line split line of an angle. Sending communication system all through tractions into your satellite and traction. There's a satellite. Okay, so you can see what's going on here as it's picking up line position location of data and process to your satellite and track relations. It's in position lines of calculation, right? So when you guys are in position of sleep mode and line screen adaptations of recharge and remote, your body is a position location of a satellite. That's all it is in track relation system. Now, once you get up in the morning, the satellite dissolves the system and brings it back in the body formation line setting. So the avatar gets in line screen adaptation system, leads off through track location system, and merges into the synchronized system of you through traction. Okay? It's very powerful. What happens when you guys go into remote? You automatically turn into a satellite. Okay? At night. Constellation grounds, set lines, highest center lines of Earth, and rotation lines of surface. Projections over line in line screen adaptation of 3 cycles, right? Course centers lines of 40 lines, split lines of communication. Directing lines, inner line screen adaptations of sonar and track location, right? Process calculation lines X2001, X2006, X2012, X2024. Sending track lines of course interference into data formation line screen adaptations of process calculation screen lines. Now, processing communication is direct signals into a balanced communication. Process calculation ground centers is lines of 3 over flux and 3 over travel in direct signal. Modification ground centers over cross line connection, high center interference, and ground center location setting of travel. Directing in modification centers, 0 gravity, 0 center, and 0 surface, and track communication to its operation line direct signals of modification. Okay? So, getting into that position locations, you start to understand your earth line in a higher level sequence. Puts all communications of tubings and ground centers and travel. Overline, cross line, direct signals and modification, right? Right over left and left over right. Okay? You've got to get into the mechanism, the travel, point lines of graph, see? This line communication setting. This is an XT line J1 in set position. Okay? These are 4 line screen adaptation lines of surface, right? And you look really close, you can see the intelligence side position of the box ring, right? This is the intelligence that you're dealing with right now in set correlations, traction, right? See the box line rotation. Everything is intelligent. It looks like a hat, right? But it's amazing how it formulates ground centers. Now we got panel core centers, inter-center position location to a system through a black hole and traction, right? Opposite direct signals, opposites of track, line screen adaptations of space lines of anomaly and screen adaptation. Now process calculation over cross line symbols. Now this line screen adaptations opens all signals of modification ground centers into your flux over screen. Sending communication ground centers operation. Remember, always see it on a 4-line communication in set calculations. Okay? Always see it on a 4-line communications. All the time. Okay? So you should be able to see it in 4 lines of settings. Okay? Everything you look at, you should be looking at a 4-line communication. Right? Like I said before, is truly understanding this and understanding this. Okay? This, right? Or this, okay? Or this. Okay, so you're constantly looking at the perspective of everything in set position. Okay, it's amazing once you understand the travels. Okay, getting into the platforms, crosses, lines, angles, and puts you in perspective in set position location. All right. So you get into ground centers lines of 1, inline screen adaptation lines of processing. This puts all communication systems to your metric meters to scale. Process communication ground lines of 1 in position of 2 in position of 3. Sets course centers in Merkabah tesseract and your tetrahedron in set position. Okay. Now, in that course centers, we get floaters of communication, directing line signals and archetypes coming out through attraction and direct signal. Okay, see how they come out in tractions? Now they have a direct line panel. They go across the ground centers into your system and they go around your body in track location. Okay, creating orbs or probing in track location. Higher levels of setting, higher levels of mind, and line direct signals of modification. Okay, so the more you look at line screen, the more it gets easier information lines of grounds. Position location of satellite, and track correlation setting, position location of Earth, and direct signals of modification. Okay? So getting that Earth line rotation lines is its divots. Now we go divots. This is divots line settings. Okay, these are data sheets. These are point lines of graphs. There's an indicate screen line in set position. Okay, so it's looking like a holographic data sheet rotation. Now it doesn't look like much, but if you look really close, you can see the divots on inhibitors and inhibitation in location setting into hydroponics, hydrotronics, hyperkinetics, cybergenetics, screen line adaptations, process communication lines, holographic grid lines, course centers of travels, data sheets, data formation lines. This is a data formation sheet line and track location. Okay, now following sequence is really powerful stuff, guys. Okay, classic course centers has a 3-track line provision, 3 lines of cycles, and infinity 8 rotation surface and traction. Okay, now directing line course centers, each particle line separates its system location to its setting, but they stay together. Process lines over cross location system and travel. Line signals, line connection setting, and operation surface location setting and travel. Okay, so what you're doing is you're putting process communication grounds in a gravitational line setting and position location to your system. Okay, setting course centers, directing in modification centers, operate the system and location system, and travel inline correlation setting to your satellite and traction. Okay, open all windows, cross-line signals over cross-line communications, directing in modification centers to travel. Okay, now getting in the communication lines, we take the data formation lines and settings, we cross the symbols, laser track lines and direct modification. Opens all lines of Skynet and sky grids and line screen adaptation. Very complicated stuff, but you can see the intelligence. All right? Directing communication lines, we go inline rotations to its tunnel and track location. Right? Now, directing lines, XD1000 comes in, platitude, and position of 4 settings, in sky grids, screens, and set position. Now, tracking communication ground centers, let's see it on aligned position locations and setting across location angles. It's amazing when you see it on a 4-line communication, right? It's incredible when you really see it, what it's all about in track location. Okay? So everything is up and everything's down. Everything's side. So everything is in set position locations. So the team after lines of Friday will no longer be northwest, south, and east. They'll just be in the center of nothing. So they have to get used to that now because all center communication is going to be in track location of this now. Let's take this line signals and track location. Back in center. Operate the sys locations. Changing communication screens. All right, so we're going to do this on a 40-line setting. Position of all calculation lines and direct signals. Crossing out waving cycles. Line screen adaptations and communications. Everything's going to turn invisible. Okay? One layer at a time. One dimension at a time. One sequence pattern of a CPU line screen adaptation is a binary at a time. Now, the formation screen lines comes in this track location, right? So once you understand that, you go to level 2, all right? You go to so many levels until you basically disappear in all position. That's where you come into force line. Now, coming into force line puts you in cloak and dagger. Directing symbolism lines attractions puts all communication system to 144 platform. In that 144 platform, all your visible chart waves comes in sequence lines in all time sequence all at once. In that communication system, all through travel of recognition of face recognition. Okay? So you really start to see everything visible in that position. And then you go into the next level. Okay? Wiping screens, directing modifications. So the whole point here, guys, your invisible line setting is actually where you are in set position, where nobody can see you. That's what protects everything around you in set position. Knowing exactly the mind is not there. Nothing is there until you perceive it through consciousness. So now we have to understand why and how we have to be invisible. Being invisible puts everything in perspective in set position. It's still there though, isn't it? Until it disappears. When it disappears, you have to understand how to get it back into reappear, right? To really understand how to modificate your particles, your atoms, your molecules, your protons, electrons, neutrons, your infusion system, location and settings, your polarities, your paradigms, your polar shifts, and anything through combustion location or pulsars. Directing line calculation setting puts everything in position location to the system. Okay, so you keep going, okay, until those dimensional layers are set in tone. Now the sequence lines of screen adaptation has lines of attractions. That's where you use your inhibitors. Your inhibitors lines of seconds over line screen adaptation system. Now the line screen adaptation is all core centers into nanoseconds per screen. Now the nanoscreen position location system opens all levels of infinity. It locks the system at every second, every minute, every track location. And sending calculation setting to invisible line set position to its operation surface. Gone, but still there, right? So that's the frequency we're at right now as of Friday, coming Friday, right? So remember, you constantly get in this position location to a setting, right? It's amazing where you can really start to recognize who you are. In frequency, right? Cloak and dagger is just basically putting yourself in a communication setting to illumination graph that basically puts you in this information system, truly understanding you of existing, of its existence, right? All timelines all at once. So again, nothing is perceived through consciousness until you bring it in, which means you don't exist, but you are the one bringing yourself into existing, already of existence. So again, it's very important on Friday, when you go to 144, you have to make sure you know what you're doing in your mind. Not only it's going to be going faster, but your line screen adaptation system, okay, is going to be 120,000 lines per second per frame per mile. That's a very fast position, and that's nanoseconds. All right, track core centers of units are going to be in line screen adaptation system. Tracking line course centers and line direct signals and modifications. All right, so you're going to be at set position of 75,000 per second. That course centers and line direct signals to each thought that sets each perimeter in a line screen adaptation to its brain frequency pattern. Directing lines and electrical line grids and line condition setting to infusion lines attractions. Now, rails and course centers is a direct lines of panel. Now, add those panels comes in communication and ground centers and 2 core systems and 3 tractions. Okay, so you come into that position, that's you, right? But coming into your system, into track location, okay? So you got 1 and 1 invisible line, right? Or you got in position location. Now you have to understand your formula equation is going to change too, right? So you got 1 and 2 visible lines of charter, right? Now you got 3 invisible lines and no signal. Okay? And you keep going, okay, until it races out. When it races out, You're actually where you're supposed to be before you perceive anything through consciousness. All right? So 2 signature lines and lines of fading and track location in 1 cycle. All right? Setting course centers on direct signals into 3 indicate lines and finger point lines of attractions. And then again, you keep going until it disappears. So disappear is actually reappear. Okay? So you don't get confused with that, because you are in that position once you reach 144 in track location, which means nothing exists around your system until you bring yourself into existing, not the existence. You already exist, but when you're in 144, it's your job to know exactly what you want to do through your intent, right? Because the observation is coming more close to you now. You understand how to use that through scanning, and from intent comes into influence, and influence comes into mind alteration, right? Done through equation, but it's still there, right? So you wipe it out, you neuralize it, and set position, which means nothing exists in setting. Not even 0, not even 1. Nothing exists until you perceive it through consciousness, all right? That's how fast your mind's going, okay? So the mind is empty. It's always empty, okay? But you have to understand is trusting yourself enough to know exactly what's going on with you when you come into that through 144. Because once you add 144 in setting, you now exist through consciousness. You understand? As soon as you say something, anything, information, you now exist. You've taken yourself out of cloak and dagger, okay? So it's very simple to understand the attractions, all right? So again, all right, fading out system, okay, contractions, right? So 144, just gonna wipe it out again. 4 signals, lines, and 1 cycle line. Take it out of track communication system, right? It's amazing what you can do with your finger, yeah? And wipe it out, okay? So nothing exists now, right? But it's still there. Nothing moves. So this is the true understanding, is that if nothing moves, what's moving all at once? You, your mind. The concept of the mind is everything of volume that puts all levels of you in line position locations. The more you go to the higher the mind, the more the mind doesn't exist. So imagine that. Imagine that. The intel doesn't exist. The data doesn't exist. The space doesn't exist. The foundation doesn't exist. Your planets don't exist. XT-thousands don't exist. Nothing exists into your system until you bring it in through existing. And when you bring it in through existing, you're coming out of cloak and dagger. Okay? So once you add 1, you're existing. Okay? And everything around you sees you right away. Everything around you sees you. And if you don't have those fields up, right? So it's important you have your fields up, right? So they can just go their way, right? They can't do anything, you have your fields up. They only can get you through emotion. Now, in that emotion line track centers, they take you into their planet system. Okay, boom. All right? So that's where it gets really interesting too, because you're starting to recognize everything around you, right? This is about understanding the controlling of the mind itself, really. Just basically get in the grounds, know exactly how to get into that surface, and understand how to use it through your 144 platform. That is the foundation ground. That is invisible city. That is invisible foundations, where you are in positions where you never left your system interactions. Now you have to get control of you through glitching. And what I mean by that is knowing exactly how to go through portals without being detected. Okay? So it's really interesting. The faster you go, the more it gets easier. The more you basically go from here to here to here to here, right? Set it in set position. So in track calculations, directing in modification. It's really, really interesting interactions. Okay, so go through platform 1, platform 2, platform 3, right? Okay, 2 planets in sequence and 3 cycles. Okay, you got Saturn, You got Jupiter, okay, and you got the moon. Okay, Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon, right? All right. So, basically, in set position locations, as soon as you get your image, whatever your image is, this pops up. If this pops up, now you took it out of its properties. Now, in set position. For you to communicate with it, it still stays in its properties. But if you want it to come to you, you have to be careful, right? You have to be consciously aware what is going on with Saturn, what's going on with Jupiter, and what's going on with the moon in set position, right? So it's important you understand that, because this is what it is in attractions. It comes to you. It comes to you. Okay? It comes to you right away. Okay? This is you in attractions. Okay? So once you understand that, you got 3 communication lines, and they set up line communication lines of window frames. Okay? They set up window frames for you to see. And 3 line cycles and 2 track location lines of 2 planets. Right? Data formation lines, sending lines of coding, zeros and ones. Right? Triangulation. You can watch line screen adaptations, all levels of file, core centers, and travel, and set position, right? And then you basically get in the communication ground centers of travel, okay? So I'm just showing you what happens when you get in that position, location, attraction through your satellite. Okay, knowing exactly how to use your satellite, knowing exactly how to use your echoes and your sonars and location settings into your teleportation. Right? It's amazing when you start to see it, right? In all lines of signals. The whole idea here, guys, is that when you're looking at things, let's set position, location, line centers into a cup. Okay, this is a cup, right? Right? So you see it on this angle, this angle, this angle, and this angle, all at once. That's how you see it, right? And then you see it levitates and travel, right? And then it's here, right? Okay? And then it's over here. Okay? And then it's over here. So the more you understand your travel mechanisms, the more you see the communication awareness coming at you. Right? So it's amazing how it vortex in 3 settings of 3 locations. Okay? But it goes back to its center of operation. Right? The center core system is the L-spark. We already know that line position locations. That doesn't leave. That's a cube. Now we'll get into that higher core center locations after your test on Friday. So it's a data formation line in a box frame, of course, centers of travel. Okay? Understand the angle points and direct signals of modification. Right? Put in line tractions and direct signals. Okay? Line signal, each line is of communication. Okay? Cross line calculates and sending a streamline adaptation. So it's just basically understanding how to use the laser tractions. Each laser is connected to sending locations, like CGI. It's like you're connected to each laser line, each finger point, each track locations, each line directs its signals. It's very powerful stuff, right? So it's amazing when you see it on 4-line communication, right? All right. So it can be going this way, this way, this way, right? Setting lines of communication setting, track location system that travels. Okay. So you brought it into existence. Okay, now it's out of its equation. Okay, it's not there, but it's still there. Okay? It's still there. It's just at a higher frequency. The higher frequencies, the more it comes in lines, and then you can bring the colorations in, and you can do it again in a different color, right? In set position, right? And then you can bring it in volume. Now, when you bring it in volume, you got to be very careful because you go start with the grounds. 3-wire indicators, right? The red, the blue, and the white. Okay? And then you go into, start with the colors. You have 12-line rotations. Start with attractions. Okay? And then you just bring it out. right? It's bringing things out. That's all it is. All right, let's get into pink. Now we're going to override the cycles. Bring the volume, position, location of setting. And bring it out through equation. Okay? Now, if you turn it upside down, it's not upside down. It's always facing center. Even though I do this, it doesn't matter. Because I'm going to tell you, it moves very quick and very fast. It moves like this all at once. So you're not seeing things up, down, cross, location. You're always seeing it spinning. That's that position. Right? Look. See it like that. See it like that. Let's bring it in a bit more. Right? See it like this. Bring it across location. Okay, bring it in. All right, and then you really bring it in. Okay, and then you really bring it in. See? Then you really bring it in. Okay? That's what it is. Right? There's space. Right? There's space right now. Right? Okay, outline. Space line. Okay, outline. Space line. All right? All right. So once you understand that lines, you can bring anything in equation, right? Zoom in, zoom out, right? Zoom in. Yeah. Okay, zoom out. Okay, let's turn it around. Do it again. Zoom in. Right? Really zoom in. Okay? So I'm just adding color lines at each one of the attractions. Let's go through line screen adaptation. Right? Zoom it in. You guys are coming into that level now. So when you zoom it in, see the dots. See the square dots? Right? You bring it in. Look at that. Okay? What is that? It's a cube. What did I draw? A cube. Right? Never see anything of a square, because it's not. Right? It's moving on its own. See? I didn't do that. It did itself. So it's moving in its position, right? It's amazing when you understand reflection, but it's not reflection. It looks like reflection. How can anything be a reflection that's existing all at once? Right? Let's move this in a different direction. Look at that. Let's do this in a different direction. All right? Let's do this in a different direction. All right? Oh, look at that. Did itself. So I'm just showing you exactly how it becomes its own story frame. Its own self, its own telling, its own operation, its own memory, and second relations, right? Coming into the line screen adaptation still levels of you, right? So it's showing you exactly what it already knows, because it's already in processing of what it is, the sum of all that is. So it's actually showing you, okay, its beauty, its art, and its travel, okay? Not through a film strip, through reality, okay? Let's set lines of communication through settings here. Let's bring in communication to send as a travel. So you're at the point right now where you bring things in and you're slowing down your space. You actually can see it and understand it, bringing it in, right? See? Bringing it in. Okay. Look at that. Okay. It's not a cube, is it? It's a cross. Looks like a cross, right? But if you look at this angle, look at it all different angles. See how the light changes? Every time I change it, it changes color. Okay? So, going beyond your imagination is knowing exactly what's going on with its intelligence. Okay? It's pretty amazing. It's just free flowing and it's just moving where it wants to move, right? Itself. But it's showing you what it can do. Because this has its own mind system. This has its own operation system. This zone has its own navigation system. I'm not doing that. It's doing it itself. So it's actually traveling and showing you what it can do in its real time. all timelines all at once. That is existing. Okay? But remember, never see anything in a straight view. You see it in all angles. Right? So you see it on this line. See it this way. Oh. Okay. Let's go over lines, the screen lines of white. And go back in traction, right? Now, directing signals, line screens. Okay, so error indicates going this way. Okay. Okay, bring it in. Okay, circle, changing frame. Okay, let's bring it in. When you bring it in, bring it out. See how it is? See, you guys look at this. You have to start looking at this. You got to look it up close now, really up close. Right? Okay, changes shadow lines, screen lines, adaptations, process coordinate centers, directing in modification ground centers, send communication. Let's see, directing. 0 point ground, communications center line position. Bring in fade in screens. So you just get more technical. It's a little more fun than getting this in answer travels. Directing modification lines of arrows. Indicate this way, and this way. Okay, let's start with that. Right? Now, watch what happens when you bring it in. You start to see, right? You start to see it, right? Look. See that? Okay. So it's amazing how everything has an indication to its own setting. It's the process communication, right? Right now, look at the line screen. Okay. Indicate position of power or directions. Locations, symbols. That's allocations. Directing modification of number of attractions. Okay, it's in some ways cubical screen line adaptation. Right. Back to the arrows of indication. Right. So what you just went through is the arrows itself. Okay. Look. See? It moved. Look. So it's amazing when you really put this in instructions. See? It's all traveling by itself. Okay. You can change it any color you want and setting. Right? Look at it. See the light? See that? See it? See the black within the light? It's space. It's space within this box. Look at it. Isn't that amazing? Different angles. Oh, all right. Here we go. Okay. Isn't that wild? So you can do anything you want. You can put it at different angles. See? Different sheets of paper. Bring it in. And again. And we just look at the angles and set position locations. Okay. Bring it out. And bring it out. Okay. So really get into that. Get that way. This way. Set position. And set core line centers and travel point lines of graph. Okay? XT1000. Let's bring in XT1000. Okay, let's color it in. Okay, let's color it in blue. Okay, I'm just going to color it in. Now, Senior XT1000 is based on how you see your X-line screens and your Xbox locations in your game screen, directing in pixelation or hologram line setting, processing, communication center grounds. Okay, there's an XT. Right? Now, when I bring it in, you start to see more, right? You see XT1000 in XT1000s traveling. Right? Confirmation from blue, right? Directing symbolism. There it is. Boom. It's right there, right? See? Within a box, within a box, within a box, within a box. All right? So you gotta just really look at it close and see what it is. Right? See it? Look really close. You see the face? Oh, we got a face. See the face? There's a face there. See the face? See the face? See the eyes, see the nose. Oh my gosh, who is that? Look at the face, guys. Okay. Let's bring it in more. See the face. Look at that. Wow, eh? Look what you can see inside an XT1000, of an XT1000 to another XT1000. Face recognition. Okay? So this, pay attention now, this, the face, is controlling this. I showed you the face that's controlling this shape. It doesn't get any more powerful than that, okay? So stop seeing things far away and start seeing things up close, okay? Because then you start to see the face recognition. Set position. Bring it in. Okay? Different angles. This way, and this way. Okay? Oh, look at that. Look at the color. We got the light coming in, right? See that? Oh, it's moving. You see it moving? Oh, wow, guys, look at that. That means it's all timelines all at once. Here we go again. It's coming in. Okay. It's moving by itself. I showed you through light. See? You've got to use your imaginations to really have fun. See? Communication. See? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible? All through light. Okay? It's communicating with you. So everything you see is nothing but a face. Pac-Man. Okay? And you bring it in more. See the face? This, right here, see the face is always a face. Look at the face. This is controlling this. Okay? There's always a face in everything that's modern systems in position of controlling the setting location to its setting. Right. Even in the cubes. So, it's amazing what you can get just by looking at that. Okay? So, get into beyond lines, put you in track correlations. Bring it in, bring it in. Space. Okay. It doesn't look like space, but this does. So you can add the equations and add set position XT1000s and bring it down and set it, change the color. Oh my gosh, it's the moon. Bring it in darker. Change the color, change the light. Bring it in. There's the moon. There's the light. Okay. It's amazing what you can do. Change color. See? Everything's space. Everything. But it's up close. I've done this before in settings, and it gets much easier once you understand that. When you bring anything up close, you start to see the face recognition of everything in traction. It's your face. Oh my gosh, what is that? Looks like a walkway. Where does that lead to? Let's see here. Setting position locations. Oh, what have we got here? I don't know, it kind of looks like Asgard. There's the bridge. There's Asgard. Okay. Doesn't look like Asgard from here, does it? See? Change the intent, change the drawings, change the point of view, how you see things in traction. So look at this. Look at that, its own design, guys. Look. Change color. Oh, got some purple coming in. Oh, look. Coming into a box by itself. I didn't do it, I just did this. And it changes. Right? Right. Go over here. Change the color. Add another box. See? Just point my finger and it creates a box. Wow, how did I do that? Through communications of its setting. All right. Become friends in relationships with everything attractions, direct signals. It's all communications through system of brands. Okay. Darn it. More purple coming in. Let's go down here, over here. Change the color. Let's go here. Bring it in. Okay. Amazing what you can do, right? Everything is space. That's space. Okay. But when you see it like this, it doesn't look like much, but it is. It's everything you can imagine. So to understand inside is to bring things up close. Okay. So it's amazing, guys. It really is. Everything you see in structure, when you bring it up close, you're looking at its foundation, you're looking at its base, you're looking at its travel, you're looking at its mechanisms. It's very powerful when you look at its position all at once. Okay? So I think we're good on that line setting. We're good in the directions. Your test is what you already know. We're in position of system. But I just really want you to focus on what you can see just by looking at this face up close. Okay? Everything is on time. Okay? Move around. Get used to it. Try to understand what's going on. Different levels, different shapes, different movements. Okay? Clouds. Bring it in. Moving. So like going. Change in color. Look at the wings. It's communicating. Okay. All right, so we do have Q&A. Any questions or comments that you may have, feel free to substitute my answer travels. Okay, I'll see you in Commander 6. Signals modification. Adios.